Okay, this class is in the schut of Menachem Mendel ben Tzar Batya and Devorah Feiga Bat Rezel, and also in memory of the Yortzeit of Ephraim ben Mordechai. May Hashem help him. All right, we got a big topic tonight. Big topic tonight. We're going to be discussing a lot of things. This is exactly what you need for the beginning of the new year. God willing, it's going to come. Okay, so the class is called Get Comfortable Becoming Uncomfortable. I think the line says it all. We're looking for a comfort life. We're looking for everything to be easy. And this is not the approach you should be having. That's why I think people are dealing with what they're dealing with in this world, is because they're very comfortable, and we're not in a comfortable world. And how do we know this? We know this from Yaakov Avinu. The minute Yaakov sat down, the minute he dwelled down, what happened? The minute he dwelled down in tranquility, immediately all his troubles began. The minute you dwell in your life, and you think, oh, I just want to take it easy, I want to sit on a golf course, that's where all the problems begin. That's where all the problems begin. We are not meant to be in a comfort zone. I always said to people, biggest shalom bayit problem that people have nowadays is people get comfortable. If you do in the beginning, if you do at the end what you did in the beginning, there won't be an end. That means a person should always do what he did in the beginning of the marriage. Same thing in the job, same thing in anything in his life. If you always do what you did in the beginning of the marriage, there will not be an end. You want Shalom Bayit 101? That's the answer. Forget everything else. You got married for a reason. You got married because they liked you for who you were. But the problem is people change. The men they stop opening the doors, they stop communicating with the wives. What do the women do? They stop getting ready, they let themselves go. Here you go. It's the truth. So this is the same thing. If we don't anything in life, if you don't continue to do what you did in the beginning, that's why the Baal Tshuvas, they're very hot. They're excited to serve God, and at the end of the day, it's a robot. And that's what's going on nowadays. People are getting comfortable, and this is not an approach we should have. So this is why we need to talk about this, because if you get too comfortable, what happens is, if you don't get yourself out of a comfort zone, Hashem will get you out of a comfort zone, and that's going to be on a much different level. So it's better if a person's constantly growing, that's where he doesn't need somebody to push him to grow. It's a very deep concept, and if you just understand this concept, to always do what you did in the beginning of the marriage, and you will not have any shalom problems. You will not have any end. People's number one complaint: he used to do this for me, he used to do that for me, he used to do that for me, now he's a different person. How many times have you heard that? You're right. Why? Because you got comfortable. That's why. Same thing in religion. Same thing. When you stop learning Torah, when you stop praying the way you prayed when you're in a crisis, that's what happens. So if we understand that, we're able to now take a different approach. So again, we're going to talk about resilience. We're going to talk about a lot of things. So tonight, also, I see a lot of people, I learn a lot of people from conversations that I have with people. And it's amazing today that nowadays, our feelings are leading to our behaviors. Do you understand? Let me explain to you. I try to make things very simple for you to understand. These are very deep concepts, but I'm making it very simple to understand, so you're able to understand why certain things are going wrong. If you're letting your feelings determine your behaviors, what are you always going to feel like? You're going to feel like entertaining yourself. Are you ever going to feel like empowering yourself? You're always going to feel like doing what the Yetzer Hara wants you to do. You're always going to feel like, oh, come to a class. No, I don't feel like it. I had a hard day at work. I don't feel like doing this. If you keep on listening to your feelings, which are coming from the Yetzer Hara, that's going to determine your behaviors. Forget your feelings. You need to let your behaviors determine your feelings. That means, I don't feel like working out. So I don't feel like it. So I'm going to stay home and take it easy. So guess what? I'm going to feel terrible. But at the end of the day, if I tell myself, I'm going to work out no matter what, then I'm going to feel great. So your behavior should determine your feelings. Not your feelings determining your behavior. This is like 101. You got to let your Yetzer Hara is going to constantly, a person's evil inclination is going to tell him whatever is not good for him. Your Yetzer Hara is going to tell you, go, entertain yourself. Go. He won't stop you to entertain yourself. So nowadays we have too many people entertaining themselves instead of empowering themselves. That's one of the biggest problems. There's a lot of entertainment going on and not enough empowerment going on. You can empower yourself doing meditation, praying, learning, working out, getting yourself better, whatever it is to empower yourself. But if you spend a lot of time entertaining yourself, what do you think is going to happen? How much entertainment do people need nowadays? We're in an entertainment business. Everybody wants to be entertained all the time. And you're not spending enough empowering yourselves. So you cannot determine, I don't feel. You're never going to feel like doing something that's good for you. I promise you. You're never going to feel like it. You're never going to feel, oh, I feel like learning. You're going to feel like playing on your phone. You're never going to feel. So you have to say, this is what I'm doing. And then that's going to determine how I feel. So you have to be in control of your behaviors. Because at the end of the day, once you finish something spiritual, something that empowers you, you're going to feel great. That means your behavior, your good behavior is going to lead to good feelings at the end of the day. It's a very important concept. Because you have to be disciplined. So, I went to, clearly, I saw, the more I speak to people and I realized, wow, I remember being in that guy's position. I remember being in that guy's position. And I realized something very, very deep, which Tony Robbins speaks a lot about, being in certain states. And this is a very, very important advice. If I remember all the mistakes that I made in my life, all the times I had to apologize for, all the times that I had to pay for, all the times in my life where I learned a lesson, all the times I learned a lesson is for one reason. It's because I was in a bad state. When I was in a stupid state, I made stupid decisions. All the times I made good decisions, I was in what kind of state? A good state. Think about it in your lives. When you're making good decisions, you're usually in what kind of state? Good state. Do you ever, when you come home happy, do you ever really fight? Do you ever fight when you come home happy? Do you ever fight when you're, I'm crazy, I want to fight? No, it's because you're in a bad state that leads to bad decisions. You understand? This concept is so deep, yet it's so simple, that if you just understand that I have to control my state all the time. If I can control my state all the time, then there's my results. I'm going to make good decisions when I'm in good states. I'm going to make bad decisions when I'm in bad states. So guess what? I got to control my state. I got to control what state I'm in. If I'm pissed off all the time, guess what's going to happen? I'm going to have a fight with my wife. I'm going to make the bad decisions at work. I'm going to scream at people. I'm going to do bad things. I'm going to do stupid things, determining on your state. Don't ask Hashem to help you when you're not even in the state to be helped. Change your state. You got to be, the number one thing I tell people, listen, right now, the way your mind is right now, you're so cluttered with garbage. And this is the time you want to make the biggest decisions of your life? Do you really want to make these decisions right now when your mind is in the gutter? When you're in this kind of state? Yeah, I want to do it. I have to do it. Guess what? You're going to make the wrong decision. I promise you. You don't even have to ask a rabbi. You don't need to ask a rabbi when you're coming in depressed. Rabbi, I think my life is over. I think I want to get a divorce. I think I want to quit my job. I think I want to do this. Common sense is going to tell you you're in a bad state. It's coming from the evil inclination. When you're in a bad state, you make stupid decisions. When you're in a good state, you make good decisions. So my job is that's why we're doing these classes on mental strength, to always be aware of the state you're in. Because if I know now, I'm not in a good state, so what do I have to do to make a decision? I have to change my state. That means I have to do something like maybe go exercise or get me out of that state that I'm in, because maybe I was expecting something to happen that didn't come in, or whatever happened. Get yourself constantly out of states. Don't make decisions in stupid states, because they're going to be stupid. They're going to be stupid decisions. Always work on changing your state and ask yourself before you make a stupid decision, before you scream at somebody, before you fire somebody, before you yell at your wife, what state am I in right now? I don't think I'm in a good state. Let me just chill out right now. Right now, let the time pass. Let me analyze the situation, get myself in a better state, and then I will make a proper decision. You don't have to make decisions right. So I said to myself, wow, I used to yell at attorneys, I used to yell at judges. I look at my life as a movie, and I'm like, what is this guy, crazy? But I realized, and I said, wow, look, when did I scream at that? How much did that cost me for being angry? $5,000. How much did that cost me for being stupid? That every decision I made. So this is one very, very important thing before we really go into the heaviness of the class. Just simplicity. Be careful what state you're in, and be careful what decisions you're making in your life based on that state. Because you don't always want to regret things in your life. Just be careful what you state. But if you control your emotions and you control your behavior, then your feelings won't get you into that. So it's a very, 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 very important concept. Okay? Otherwise, you're going to be full of anxiety and full of phobias and full of, again, we're in a world where, I remember Florida. One day it's Zika, one day it's hurricanes, one day it's this, one day it's that. There's always going to be something. There's always going to be something. You think you're saved from anything? Never. We're not in a life of comfort. You have to rely on God, you have to have blind faith, and you have to get stronger. If you focus on getting stronger and not becoming comfortable all the time, then you can live life. Don't wish it was easier, wish you were better. I forgot that line, I forgot who said it, but that line really stuck in my mind. I don't want my life to be easier, I want to be better so I'm able to control, because at the end of the day, I want to grow. I want to grow, and that's what everybody should be focused on, is growth. And they're all saying, how come life is so difficult for me? How come I can't handle it? Because you're not doing a lot of things that are getting you to good states, and you're not doing a lot of things that are getting you mentally strong. And the first thing Rav Nachman talks about is very simple. Breathing properly. Lesson 60, he talks about how important it is to breathe properly, because when you don't breathe properly, you're not making good decisions. We're in football season. Football just started. It's very hard to constantly be down 21-0 and come back every time. Don't get yourself in a position to be down 21-0 in the third quarter and have a miracle perform for you every time. Don't get in that position. Be in the position when you're up 14-7. So all you have to do is just stabilize life. But people are always they're down 21-0 every single game. He's down 21-0. And now they got to throw the third quarter's bombs and wish for miracles every time. So how do we control to get into that state? It starts with your rituals, what you do every day. So we know that the word neshima means breathing. It comes from the same word as neshama. Your soul and your breath are very important. They're all connected. And it's connected to your mind. If you look at any kind of breathing exercise, any kind of yoga meditation throughout the world, they're all focused on one thing. They're focused on their breath. To make sure that to have good meditation, you have to be able to be an expert at breathing properly. Why is breathing properly? What does breathing really mean? So he says, breathing is the main function of the proper functioning of your intellect. That means the more you're able to breathe properly, I'm going to go more deeper into it. That's going to determine your intellect. So guess what happens if you come every single day, if you're going through wars every single day of your life, through stress? Guess what's going to affect? It's going to affect your breathing. You're not going to be able to breathe. If you're not going to be able to breathe, you're not going to be able to think. If you're not going to be able to think, you're going to make a bad decision. So the breath is really what? This is because in order for the intellect to function properly, so it can attain contemplation, it needs oils. You have to picture your brain as a lamp. Your brain is a lamp, and what is it control? What makes you have a good decision? If you have oil. If you have oil in the lamp's on. Right? That's where your soul is lit. But guess what? If you have no oil in the lamp, guess what happens? Then the heat from the heart consumes it. So our job the heart is very simple. Your lungs are what? Are the divider between your brain and your heart. Your heart is passion. The heart is the Yetzer Hara. The heart wants the passions. The heart wants to get angry. All the emotions come from where? The heart. Everything comes from the heart. So what you have to do in your life every single day is calm your heart down. You cannot live your life on 95 degrees and expect to live a good life. That means you're overheated all the time. If you're overheated all the time, any little thing that goes wrong, a guy spills water on you, you're going to lose your cool. You have to be focused on becoming a 70 to 73 degree guy. How do you do that? Through breathing. Breathing what? Breathing Torah and breathing prayer. When you pray, that's why the lobes of the lung correspond to what? What are the lobes of the lung? They compare to the 5 books of the Torah. So the Torah, when you learn Torah, what do? You're really calming your heart down. How do you think a guy all of a sudden, he comes from learning Torah and he comes from praying, meditation, he's calm. He gets out of synagogue, he's calm. He's not going to go bite somebody's head off in a minute. But a guy coming from Starbucks who just woke up and his head is already 30 minutes later, any little thing that goes wrong, the guy's yelling at everybody. Because he didn't do enough offense to cool himself. So it's your rituals. If you don't, I can't tell you, listen, just focus on your emotions, focus on this, and life's going to be great. No, you need to do something different. You need to be focused on breathing. That means whatever is not allowing you to breathe, stress, passions, anxiety, is affecting your mindset. I gave a class already how the majority, what stress does to a person's brain. We gave maybe an hour sheer just on the effects of stress on your brain. It makes your brain smaller, it cuts circuits of communication off, it literally, you're going to be brain dead. God forbid. Brain fog, all these things are from excessive stress, excessive cortisol in the system. So what a person has to do is he has to protect his mind. How do I protect my mind? By guarding my passions of the heart. By making sure I have enough cooling off that I can cool the heart so the heart doesn't consume the body. Because look what he's saying here. Because the moistures of the oil in the body are maintained by breathing. And if it wasn't for the lobes, this is in the Zohar. It says, if it wasn't for the lobes of the lung fanning the heart, guess what would happen? Your heart would consume your entire body. This is what happens with addictions. This is what happens when people, they can't take their temptations. Their temptations are bigger than their self-control. When you have no self-control, that means you have absolutely no oil in your brain. That means the heart is doing all the lifting. How did you get there? How did you get there is a problem. How did you get there? How did you get 28-0? Because you neglected a lot of things. You were neglected with your behavior. You did a lot of entertaining. You did a lot of stuff that didn't empower you. So guess what happens at the end of the day? You're going to become a victim. You're going to become a victim. It's very important. So he says here that the lungs receive cool air from the outside in order to cool off the heart. And this is able for the intellect to exist and to be lit with contemplation. Also, imagine what people do. This is for the men. But what do you think? If the oil's in your brain, that's why I tell people. I thank God I'm able to deal with a lot of non-religious people, which I like, because I like to go after the 90% of the Jews. All the rabbis are going after the 10% of the Jews. I want to go after the 90% of the people who are not, and showing them, by the way, let me give you another reason why a person should keep his Brit. Forget spirituality, forget religion, forget everything. How about if your intellect is from your brain, and what happens when you throw it out constantly? What do you think is happening? What do you think is calling brain fog? What do you think brain fog is coming from? From excessive oil being dumped on the ground. If you had oil and you knew that you needed this oil in your house to light up your house, would you take the oil and dump it outside? If you have any kind of logic, what? We're not going to have any light. If I keep on throwing the oil outside, I'm not going to have any light. I'm going to be in the dark. This is what's happening nowadays. You see people that have no energy, they have no light on their face, they're depressed because they don't have oil in the brain. Because guess what? They took all the oil in the brain and they dumped it outside. So I told, listen, if you want to have, the reason why you need to have moral purity, how about this? It'll make you smarter. Forget the religion. So that approach, it works with them. If I talk about religion with people, nah, it's not for me. But you mean maybe I could do better in college if I can keep the Brit? Maybe I could do better at work? Yes, because your brain is where everything is. And if you keep on throwing your brain out for nothing, for passion, for a complete shtiyot, this is why you go crazy. And this is why Rav Nachman says that what? That this is what causes a person to be literally insane. What's causing insanity? When there's no oil in the brain and all the passions rise into the heart. You could tell a person who's on drugs, listen, if you just fight this addiction, you have this whole life ahead of you. The whole life ahead of you. Look what you can have. You can get married. You can get this. You can have children. Look what's ahead of you. Look at this life you can have, you can live. They can't do it. They can't do it because they have no oil to think. Too much passions. The passions are ruling the heart. So we need to start playing more offense and defense. You need to get on an offensive mentality, not on a defensive mentality. Because if you're playing defense all the time, this happened to me because of this. This happened to me because of that. This happened to me because of that. You're always defending yourself. It's like, this is what I lost. I don't have a job because of the economy, because now Zika is hitting on Lincoln Road. I can't make a living now. And you're going to always blame something. You're going to always call it something. Zika tomorrow. The next day you're going to say oil prices went up. Nobody can drive here anymore. And nobody's taking gas prices. There's always going to be something. I always tell people, don't you realize there's always going to be something? That you think Zika is just a one in a lifetime. It's going to be tomorrow. It's going to be something else. Because we're not in a comfortable world. But if you're able to have intellect in your brain and you're able to make the right decisions by doing a lot of cooling the heart, by maintaining your heart, then you can live life. Because you'll figure out what to do in every situation, which is very important. So breathing is very important because you need to start getting your mind to be sharper. And that's why nowadays you see ADD, OCD, all these symbols nowadays, because if there's enough intellect in the mind, you wouldn't have all these problems. That's why when you learn Torah, don't just think of learning Torah. Yes, you can get closer to God, but you're building your brain. You're building the brain. Look at the difference between, I gave this example the other day. What do you think you call Alzheimer's? Alzheimer's disease. Imagine a guy 60, 65 years old. He can't remember anything. Can't remember anything. Why? Bad food, stress, living in America, dealing with a lot of entertainment. I can't remember anything. You should imagine going to see your grandchild and you don't even recognize your grandchild. Where a guy in Israel is learning Torah, his brain is sharper every single day. So who's winning? Oh no, this is not for me. This is for the religious people. I love that comment. Oh, this is not for me. I didn't grow up this way. But I'm telling you that this could be the result of your brain. Forget religion. Just talk about what your brain could be. Look at a guy in India. I always give this example. Look at a guy in India that is able to meditate. He eats good foods. He eats turmeric, antioxidants for his brain. He doesn't get Alzheimer's. America? Nobody can remember anything. This is from the Yetzer Hara. The Yetzer Hara, the main thing the Yetzer Hara wants to do is he wants to take away your brain. So you have no brain, you can't remember anything. What's the purpose of living? So we got to do a lot of prevention management. Nobody talks about prevention. I say, stop being always in the situation. Can you start playing a little offense? It's the first thing I think. Why are you always playing defense all the time? Come on already. Like get your act together. All right. So let's talk about, remember, the main thing is not, we don't want to start making behavior changes. Because behavior changes, like I said before, they don't last. Behavior changes don't last. Identity changes last. That means I'm not that guy who does that anymore. I'm not the guy who entertains himself all the time. Because at the end of the day, you have a good day, you'll fall right back into your behaviors. So it's very important to make identity changes. That means I am a new person. This is the new me. Because I am not going to live life that way. If you start making an identity change, then you can live. The only reason some people get out of rehab and some people don't, they make it out, is the people who decide to make a complete identity change. That means they don't tell you, oh, I'm 6 months clean, I'm 7 months clean. I'm clean. I'm not that person anymore. If he's still counting the days, if the person's a plan B guy, if this doesn't work, I'll do this. He's already has the mind on failure already. His head's already telling him he's going to fail. You know, there's no plan B, guys. You got to be a plan A guy. You got to be, I'm a plan A guy. I'm going to do it no matter what, because I'm a new person. And that's what we have to focus on. So we're going to talk about now resilience and Keter. Keter is one of the big, is the highest name of God, which this is where willpower comes from. When a person has a willpower in his life to do able to break something, like how do you see a mother all of a sudden you see videos of a mother picking up a car with a little baby in the car? Where does this come from? How does a person is able to, in the hardest situations in his life, be able to pick up a car? Because she knows it's not an option. What gives a person the strength is a person's will. So we're going to talk about resilience, and we're going to talk about delayed gratification, which is something we have to deal with in order to get anywhere in life. Most of the problems that I see people having is they're very impatient, and they're, I had a phone call the other day from a 24, 25-year-old girl. Tells me her life is over. Why is your life over? Because she had a couple broken engagements. She's 25, nothing's wrong with her, she has a job, she's healthy. Take a look at a 40-year-old girl, what would she pay to be in that girl's position? So you can see people's minds are just, why? I said, why? So you go out with the next guy. No, I can't wait. Hashem doesn't love me. It's a story that people are telling themselves. And it says, as long as you continue to tell yourself this story, you're going to be miserable. I'm looking at you like you're a baby. You haven't even lived life. You can't tell me life is over when you haven't even started living. How could you tell me life is over when you haven't even started living? When you start, I understand you're 45, 46, you have a couple kids, it's harder for you to meet somebody, it's a different story. But when you're 25 years old in Manhattan and you tell me your life is over, you can see where people's heads are at. So let's talk about resilience. Resilience is the quality that allows people to be knocked down in life and come back stronger than ever. Rather than letting their failures overcome them and drain their resolve, they find ways to rise above the ashes. Okay? They're able to do what? They're able to have a positive attitude constantly, they're optimistic, and they're able to regulate their emotions constantly. Okay? We need to be resilient. Because resilient means I have a goal, I'm going to hit the goal no matter what. Even if I have to fall, even if I have to go up. It's the key. And there's a great example about this concept that we teach. There's an example that they did. It's called the marshmallow example. Okay? There's a book called the marshmallow example. Everybody can buy it. It shows they tested two different children. Basically, they told the child, I'm going to give you one marshmallow right now. You can eat it right now, or you can wait 20 minutes and you can have two marshmallows. That was their option. But not only that, but they had to look at the marshmallow and have the willpower not to go for it. Not to go for it. Right? So they did this test, and they tracked these kids down in college. They tracked them in their life, and they saw who would be more successful. Who would be more successful? So guess what happened? The kids that had the marshmallow, they said, no, I don't want to. I want it now. I want it right now. They were impatient. They took the marshmallow. The kids that waited 20 minutes to eat the marshmallow, the studies show that they tripled their success in the kids did in high school, in college. They outdid them by 2 to 3 times in college. In real life, they were much more stable. Half of the other kids that took it right away, some of them ended up in rehab, some of them ended up in all kinds of emotional problems in their life. From a simple example of a kid, it means you have to start teaching your children, sometimes you just have to wait. You can't take everything at once, because waiting is part of doing tshuva. Our biggest problem is people don't want to wait. They can't wait to get married, but they don't want to wait. So that waiting time between getting married and finding the shidduch, they can't handle it. That's that time, the time you have to build, you have to wait, that's the keter. That's where you have to sit there and build your character. Because everybody wants something right now. Who doesn't want something right now? And I realized that this is the key to life. You have to be able to have delayed gratification and not have everything right now. Because if you're a guy that needs everything right now, guess what? Your deals are not going to happen right now. Your marriage is not going to happen right now. Nothing happens right now because God's deciding when it's happening. And He's going to put you through a test to go through certain situations in your life where you're going to have to do nothing more but wait. Because the waiting period is the test. What are you going to do when you wait? What are you going to do when you wait? How do you respond when you wait? Do you throw in the towel? Or you're in the difference of your life by just waiting? So he has an article here. Rav Nachman has a beautiful, beautiful article on what's causing mental illness. What's Rav Nachman's point on mental illness? And this is from Anatomy of the Soul. He says, just as the physiology of a man parallels the spiritual makeup, so too mental health mirrors spiritual health. Your mental health and your spiritual health, very connected. Right? We have seen that Keter means what? Keter is the highest energy you can possibly have. Keter represents willpower. It represents also waiting. Waiting. That means Qatar means to wait. That means before you start doing tshuva, what happens? A guy wants to do tshuva in 24 hours. Like he wants to make a microwave tshuva. There's no such thing. You want to do tshuva in 1 minute. No. First they tell you, wait. You can't be a tshuva overnight. What do you think, this is microwave popcorn? First you have to do what? You got to get cleaned out a little bit. You want to come closer? You got to get cleaned out. So the problem is, people can't handle the bitterness of that waiting period. They said, I can't take it anymore. I tried to do the religion. I tried to do his bodhidut. How many times did you try it? 2 times. I can't wait. I can't take it anymore. Okay. You didn't want it enough. I tried to do exercise. How many times did you try to work out? I tried to go on a treadmill for 10 minutes. It's not for me. So what happens is you have no patience. Guess what happens over a long time of not having patience on many things? What happens when there's no patience? Anxiety, stress, anger. What is the lack of patience? When you're impatient with something, what do? You get angry because you want it now. And you know what happens when you get angry? You lose your wisdom. You lose your dat. Gemara says a person who gets angry loses his dat. Takes all the oil and throws it out. You have no dat. All the memory that you could have had, you threw it out. That's why anger is one of the worst things you can have, because at the end of the day, so a person his mind has to tell, you have to have a monitor that tells you, now it's not the time, wait and be patient, you can't have everything you want right away. But just like you tell a little kid, you have to be patient. You can't have everything you want right away, but the adult doesn't do it. He can tell it to the kid, but the adult doesn't act it. He says, now it's not the time. Wait and be patient. You must learn patience because patience is the key to success. I have to have a goal, but it doesn't mean I'm going to have it tomorrow. We're in an instant business. Look, I don't know what happened. I went to shul for 2 days in a row. I came home, I lost the business deal. I should have not went to shul. I should have stayed home. Why did I go to shul? Look, I went to shul, it went worse. What do you think is happening? It's a test. You think the Yetzer Hara is going to give you something so clear? You think this is a cash 3? You sit there, you punch 1, A comes out, the slot machine tshuva. You press C1, this is what you get. Do you understand life is a test? Do you understand you have to go through, you need to build character? What would happen, what do you think happens when you have football players that are out of college too soon? What happens? Their character is not there, they ruin their whole career. They could have waited 1 more year, 2 more years, they would have been the MVP of the league. But what happened? He wanted to come out before his time. Guess what? Your career's over. Look what happened to the Manzanel guy. You would have waited 1 more 2 years, build your character, he would have been a different guy. But what happens? People want things now. And what happens? Your character doesn't match with your goal. So you have a failure. So sometimes you have to wait. And waiting means being patient and being humble. So he says, here is the key to all the mental disorders. When a person's keter is blemished, his ability to create a framework from which his mental and emotional state can grow and flourish is damaged. The outcome? All these impulsive orders, OCD, all the everything impulsiveness. What do you think it's all coming from? Because the keter, it really started from a lack of patience. Because if you had patience, you would have never been stressed out. If you weren't stressed, what do you think? You're stressed out, now you're going to go to the doctor. Doctor, I think I'm stressed out. He's not going to tell you, maybe you should be more patient in life. What do you think you have? You have anxiety? Here you go. Here's a Klonopin. Here's an Ativan. Here's a this. Here's a that. Here's a that. What do you think he's going to tell you? Next thing you know, you're on 4 or 5 pills. All you had to do is just wait. Wait. I learned many lessons from this. I learned, because the more you push something, the more the thing is pushed away. And especially in doing tshuva, especially to have patience in marriage. I want my wife to be like this now. Oh, really? Good luck. Now? Who are you, Hashem? I want her to be this now. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. So if you realize the opposite of patience and everything is what? Mental illness, stress, anxiety, and you feel like your life and God's life that He planned out for you are not matching up. They're not matching. I thought I was going to be this. I thought I was going to be already married, 2, 3, 4 kids already, a job here, and your life is not matching up with this one. Because what happens when something goes bad for you, you pull a big tantrum and you throw in the towel and you give up. That's not what you're supposed to do. So now we understand where mental illnesses come from. It comes from really a lack of patience. And that's where keter comes from. Keter is the biggest light you have. Keter is the highest light in Kabbalah. It's through patience, humility. That means when your person is humble, he's patient. He knows Hashem is going to give it to him when he wants. Because he knows that if he gave it to him before, guess what? He doesn't have the vessel. I know people that they're dying to get married, but guess what? They can't hold their temper in between 4 or 5 friends. So I said, if you can't even hold your temper between a couple people, wait until you get married. Hashem is giving you a favor by not letting you get married now. Because if you got married with your attitude, you would be Kaddish. You would be a snapper on a barbecue. Moroccan wife, Ashkenazi wife, any wife would make you into a snapper. And she would fry you overnight. So there's a reason why things are not happening now. It's really chesed. It's really Hashem has patience. And He says, listen, if this guy wants to go out now, he doesn't have a character to be married. What do you want? Anything that goes wrong, you get upset. Imagine, that's what living yourself. Not dealing with 2 people. Go deal with 2 people like this. And deal with a baby. You have no shot. So think about, there's a reason why you have to ask, maybe Hashem, maybe things are not happening to me right now. It's because I don't think I'm ready. Maybe I'm not ready. Maybe you're really doing me a favor by not giving me my shidduch. Maybe I need to do tshuva on becoming a better person, and then I will get married. And then the problem goes away. That's why we said when a person has meaning in his life and he understands why things are happening for him, what happens? Pain goes away. There's no suffering. If I know this happened to me for a reason, and I know I wasn't ready to get married, if I would have gotten married, I would have been a disaster. There's a meaning to the suffering. So let's talk about this amazing test about willpower now. Because the fact that anything you need that we're going to accomplish in life and to turn potential into actual, you need a lot of resilience. Because any goal you're going to have is going to have tremendous obstacles. That's going to happen. Anything good in life, just like a woman has to go through what? She has to go through 70 cries to give birth. Nobody just goes and pops a baby without labor pains. So anything in life has to have a labor pain to it. And that's just part of life. And if we understand that, then at the end of the day, we could deal with it. And depending on your obstacle is going to be dependent on the amount of stress you have to get there. So there's a book called Grit by Angela Duckworth. What she did is she went to West Point, the top school in the nation, West Point. Very hard to get in. You have to only get in through a recommendation from a governor. Nobody gets in. And the people that do get in, maybe 10% make it in this school. It's the top of the top. So she did a study. What determines the difference between one guy making it and one guy not making it? What's the difference between one guy making it and one guy not making it? Was his intelligence? Was this? What's the deal? And she came out with a study, which Rav Nachman says exactly the same thing, that the main thing is a person's will and desire. And what's causing it not to? She said, the people, she found out that willpower outdid IQ by double. People who had stronger willpower were able to outdo other people double. They had better results in accomplishing their goals. That means it's not intelligence that's getting you to places. It's your willpower. Your willpower is keter. If you have the willpower for anything in life, you'll accomplish it. Because willpower is the highest form of energy that we get from Hashem. So the willpower is what gets you to the goal. It's not your intelligence. People say, oh, I'm intelligent, I'm going to get there. No, it's how hard you try. That's what Rav Nachman says. Everything in your life, the only way you're going to get it is through effort and yearning. Nothing else. There's no other way. He got to his position only by one thing, having tremendous resilience. When he got knocked down, he got right back up. When he got knocked down, he got right back up. He said sometimes he fell 1,000 times. And he got right back up. Because he knew he had to go. So clearly, it's definitely the willpower. So here Rav Nachman says here, beautiful lessons, lesson 66. Because remember something very simple. If you don't go for what you don't want is going to take over. Remember this line. It's a very deep line. If you don't go for what you want in life, what you don't want will take over. That means if you're not working on accomplishing your goals and you give up, guess what's going to come? Regret, pain. If you think the price for failure costs you money, you know what the price for regret is? 10 times the price. Failure, I've tried, I failed, it's okay. Come right back up again. But if you say, I regret I never took a chance to do it, that's something you're going to deal with your whole life. And that price is very tough. And a lot of people are dealing with that in life now. They regretted certain things they didn't do. And because of that, they're miserable. They regret. So if you don't go for what you don't want will take over. Remember this line. This line should be in your brain. That you have no option. You have one option, either to grow or you're going to go backwards. There's no option. That's what I want to understand. There's no option. That's why you have to be comfortable becoming uncomfortable. Because if you're not focusing on growth, you're going to become a victim. So here he says the key to everything. How do I turn, what's the $1 million question? How do I turn potential into actual? He says all the obstacles that a person encounters are only for the sake of desire. That means you have an obstacle in your life, whether it's talking to God, whether anything you want to do spiritually, even getting married, anything you want to do that's good for you. That's good for you, The obstacle is only there to increase your desire. I've seen this millions of times in my life where I wanted something so much and I had so many obstacles, but what do? My desire went up. Other people, what do? They run to the bar. More obstacles? Oh, it's not for me. What do you think? You're trying to do this? You're trying to accomplish what you want to accomplish? And you think it's going to be easy? So what do? You run back. So the only way you're going to get one line here that's going to be the key in life to turning anything in potential to actual. So he says here that in order that a person should have a greater desire, when you take a thing away from a kid, what does the kid do? No, I want it more. I want it more. The kid doesn't say, okay, you know what? You keep it. I'll get it next time. Tomorrow we'll talk about it. Okay, forget about it. It's okay. What does the kid do? Give it to me. He wants it more and more and more. But the human being, he starts analyzing why it didn't happen to him. Maybe it's not for me. You know what the problem is? You should sometimes just have to think like a child. And stop planning like an adult. Sometimes you have so many things you're putting in your head, stories and this and that. Bottom line is, the human nature is that a person is held back from doing something, the more he desires to do it for. Therefore, a Jew needs to know that it's part of his life, that anything you need to do in your life, anything you need, any way to accomplish any obstacle, is only to increase your desire, not for you to give up. It's to increase your desire, it's to increase your willpower, it's to increase your resilience. That's what I'm telling you guys. You need to have resilience. You can't have this attitude that, no, I worked out, it didn't work for me. It's not for me. You can't have that mentality because you're going to have obstacles, and anything good in life is going to require this. Therefore, a person should know that there's no barrier in the world that he cannot break if he doesn't want it. There's any barrier out there, you can break it. If you really wanted to do it, you could have gotten it. That's what he's saying here. This is because the barrier only exists because of the desire. It's only to increase your yearning. Before we opened the Breslov Center, we were in 3 counties. Hollywood, this, that. We had many, many obstacles. But I know this is not an option for me. I'm going to have this. So I knew every obstacle, bigger desire. Every obstacle, more desire. If I would have given up one time, there's no speech tonight, there's no nothing, there's no Breslov Center. There's nothing. Michael, I'm sure when he started the Lighthouse Project, he had 1,000 obstacles. But what happened? He was very persistent. He was annoying. He was telling, he didn't stop. This is exactly how you have to do. So he says, when a person has a strong desire and his will of intense yearning, then he will be able to accomplish it. So he says, furthermore, a person should know that the greater the object of his desire, that means the greater the greater the thing is for you, the more obstacles is there in front of you. That means whatever's hard for you, very, very hard for you, the obstacles is much harder for you. So you should know, wow, I have a lot of obstacles. That means this thing that I'm going for must be very, very big. Must be very, very big for me. It must be an amazing thing for me. And that should give you the drive that no matter what, now I know why. I shouldn't say, what do you think? Is this working out for me? Is it not working out for me? I'm having too many problems. It's not for me. No, got to have a different approach. You have to understand, this is clearly, Rav Nachman's telling you that the reason why you have obstacles in your life is because to increase your desire. And if you increase your desire, which is willpower, which you need resilience, because you need to know how to deal with obstacles, then you will get your goal. The bottom line is, you only win in life. The only way you're going to hit your goals is very simple, one line. If your desire is bigger than your obstacle. Bottom line, if you want to hit any goal in your life, it's because you don't want it enough. If you wanted it, you would have gotten it. If you wanted to wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning, you would get up at 6 o'clock in the morning. But you don't want it. You don't want it. You have to be honest with yourself. Tell yourself you don't want it. But if your desire is so much, believe me, you'll get out. You could see, it's funny how you have this Black Friday. Somehow, America wakes up at 1 o'clock, Tikkun Hatzot, and waiting on Walmart to get a free TV. You tell them, listen, you got to get to work at 9:30. No, I can't get to work. They show up at 9:45. But they'll get up at 2 o'clock in the morning to sit in front of Walmart, to sit in the cold, just to get their free TV so they can get entertained. Welcome to America. Because their desire to get the TV is bigger than their obstacle. Maybe she would have had a flat tire, the lady going to Walmart at 5. I don't care. I will walk there. I will walk there. Because I am getting my TV. You hear the willpower of people for garbage? I don't care what happens. You see people tailgating at football games. Wow, how'd you put this thing together? You organized the whole tailgate for 50 people. Come to show. Come to just dive in one time, 9 o'clock. No, I can't. I have to sleep. But how'd you do that? You pulled up a buffet in the middle of a football game with 60,000 fans. Because you wanted it more than your obstacle. I'm sure you had obstacles. I'm sure one guy didn't have hot dogs, another guy didn't have that, but he wanted it more. This is the key to life. If your obstacle, if your desire is bigger than your obstacle, you will wake up in the morning on January 20, November 29th, and you will be out there standing in front of America, getting the free TV at Best Buy. You will be just like America. But you tell them, come, wake up for midnight mass, wake up from Tikkun Hatzot. Tikkun Hatzot? What are you talking about? What am I getting out of it? So you could see a person has that desire inside of them, they're just not activating it for the right reason. I never forget when the Heat were in the playoffs, when the Heat were in the finals. You would see it was a movie. You would see people standing outside of the American arenas at 5 o'clock in the morning on the finals, lines. I said, what is it, an immigration line? What's going on here? No, they're just waiting to get tickets for the Heat. 5 o'clock in the morning in the middle of overtime. Because they wanted it more. That's the key to life. The key to life is you have to want it more than the obstacle. There's nothing else. That's why I tell people, the reason why you're not here, because you don't want it enough. Just be honest with yourself. Don't tell yourself a story. Don't give yourself this. You don't want it enough. When you want it enough, you'll get it. All right? That's today's class. I can't believe it didn't.